Well, let's kick this off. So, welcome to ATG Town Hall. Myself, Justin DeVore, we got Josh Hunter and Phil Smith, and we're all part of the Reality Capture team here at ATG. So we figured last Town Hall was a riveting success. We went through a lot of hardware. We also did live check-ins of a house being scanned, everything like that. So this time we decided to shake it up a little bit. And David, another member on our team, went ahead and put together a whole bunch of images from projects that we have all worked on. Now, myself, Josh, and Phil have not seen these pictures yet. So we're just gonna kind of react to them. And then if you guys have any questions, things like that, and what we'll do is kind of react to them, say what we did on the project, if we had any unique challenges, just kind of things like that. So everybody attending, feel free to raise your hand, use the Q&A board, all that kind of stuff. And Josh and Phil, if you guys will monitor that, make sure I don't miss any of them, but I'll go and kind of run the show on the photos. So, all right, let's see what this first one David picked out was. I really hope it's David like plastered against the wall in a scan, but one can dream.
So kind of our inside joke on the team is David McQuillan always finds himself on. We always find him in scans. Almost every project, if he's scanning, yeah, it's kind of like
Where's Waldo, but he's not hard to find because his face is like plastered all over the screen. So you guys can see the image here of the snow.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So this is one I did. This was out in Park City, Utah. Gorgeous little place. They're looking to do some remodeling. So we went out there and scanned it, flew over with the drone, and have a really cool data set. But yeah, it was a really unique property. Had like a movie theater downstairs. I know this property has been one that we've used as data sets for training and things like that. So let's go on. Oh, here we go. Here's David.
Looks like a stadium in the background there.
Yeah.
Hi, this is David McQuillan with ATG USA's Reality Capture team. I'm up here in Montana in February. It's about negative.
Let me pause that for a second. You guys are all getting the audio.
Yeah,
correct?
It's loud.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Is it too loud or is it okay?
No.
All right, awesome. All right.
15, I think the car said. We're doing this reality capture project with the Montana State Stadium, Bobcat Stadium here. And we've went ahead and scanned the inside. And what I'm doing right now, I don't know if you can hear the drone above me, but I'm doing a flight, a perimeter flight. You can see it there around the stadium itself. I'll give you another better look here.
Yeah, that was a really cool project. I think the lowest we got to was what, -15 that?
So it's going around
Josh?
Negative 17
elevations around the stadium to get good vertical coverage.
Yeah.
And then that'll create a really good exterior 3D model.
Yeah, David looks cold there. So yeah, that was another unique project. So it was a stadium scan, but of course they picked the coldest time for us to go out there.
Check back in with you later.
Josh, what were some of your impressions on the project?
Well, the neat thing about this one is we used pretty much every tool in our tool chest there. We had obviously the drone, as you can see. You were on the RTC 360, the RTC 360. Myself and David, when he wasn't on the drone, were using the like a BLK 360, and then even we busted out the new mobile LiDAR unit, the BLK to go there on that project. So it was nice. We scanned on the inside where it was nice and warm, but being outside, we had to be quick and strategic because those scanners weren't a fan of being in negative degree weather. So
Well, and that was kind of interesting. You brought that up. So again, with bringing all the tools of the trade, some of them handled the cold weather and they're built for that. Like the RTC 360 had no problems. You know, it's like my fingers and the iPad were having more of a reaction than that. But I know the BOK 360 after. How many were you able to get done outside before you had to go inside to warm it up?
We also, just a side note, there's a question which we can answer here in a second. But you know, the BLK 360, that one was, I mean, about every hour we had to kind of, I mean, the thing got so cold to the touch that I had to find a warm place and kind of hold it or warm it up or yeah, it was difficult. So.
Gotcha. I saw the question pop up there, and it was based around some of the equipment. I think I have some here real quick. So Cyclone, Jetstream, scanning comparison. Okay, so here's some of the terrestrial scanners that Josh was talking about. The only one not shown here is the mobile LiDAR, the BLK to go. We had all these different scanners out here, a handful of BLKs, and then also the RTC 360. We also have a P40, but yeah, we didn't bring that out on this site. But some of the differences here that you can see is not only the range. So basically, the bigger the scanner, the more powerful it is, the further out it'll go for that. But you can also kind of see the varying temperature degrees. Okay, so these P series go down to -20 Celsius, whereas the RTC was doing okay at -5 Celsius. But like Josh mentioned, he was having issues with the BLK, and we can see here the range of that there. So yeah, this was the equipment we had brought out with that, along with the drone. So.
And our BLK 360, that's kind of our workhorse. That's the scanner we use all the time for, mostly for interior scans. You can use it for exterior if we obviously like to use the RTC with the longer range, but our BLK is kind of our backbone to all of our projects. The RTC you can use inside. It works just great. You can put it on a lowest setting, and it's, I mean, you can do a scan in about under 2 minutes, so it's pretty awesome. The only problem is it does so many more points per second that it's a lot heavier data set. So we, like I said, we try to use our BLK 360 as kind of our workhorse.
Yep, and when we have those discussions as far as those that want to purchase the scanner their own, you know, we'll have that discussion of like, you know, just as important as getting one is what do you intend to use of it, and like Josh was mentioning, there is some variations in that, but you know, feel free to reach out to us if you want to dive more into detail here. So yeah, so this was that Park City one, you know, middle of the snowstorm thing, but here's the entrance, really unique. Got my own background music on this one. Okay, and then yeah, Bozeman, that was like David was mentioning, so that was -8 that day, but yeah, we got down to -17 at the lowest. Here's another one at that Park City house. Okay, and here's one out in Page, Arizona, where we were doing scanning of 1,000 acres up near Page, Arizona. There's a famous horseshoe bend, which is on all the girls' Instagram profile pics and things like that. So this is out in that area. This is up in northern Arizona.
Let me give you a quick idea of what we're doing out here. So behind me is the Grand Canyon, and then we're here in Page. So over that direction, along the hill, you can see people walking up there, but that's where Horseshoe Bend is at. And if we pan over this way, P for Page, and if we keep going, you can see our RTK unit, and JT up there, he's flying the drone currently, which is on its way back. It's right there, up in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're scanning about 1,000 acres out here. So that's what we're doing.
Cool. Um, hey, Josh, let's see. Let's go to the next one. Let's go. Let me grab something. Okay, so here's one at Charity Hospital a little bit, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Yeah, so this was the Charity Hospital that we did down in New Orleans. This was over 1 million square feet, and it was 22 stories. So we scanned inside and out, but this has been abandoned since Katrina. So it was kind of a unique to be able to go through and go see just kind of the state of things that, you know, since 2008, 2009, when all that happened.
And there was no power to that building, correct?
No power. Nope. So we brought lanterns to help improve the scans, and you can see this is all just ambient daylighting and things like that. And sometimes there's jobs where we'll go scan overnight, but the state that this building was in, pretty much we've only scanned from sun up to sundown on
And
here.
how many scans total was that full project? I know, just to let the audience know as well, I unfortunately wasn't on the team yet when they did this. So, you know, this is kind of ATG's bread and butter and really put us on the map as far as what we can do reality capture wise. But yeah, go ahead and tell them how many scans and how much data size and everything like that. And the fact that we were actually able to put it together.
Yeah, I don't remember all the scan counts, but I think we can find that here real quick. So if you do want a little more details, we do have a whole YouTube reality capture page. ATG has a whole bunch of YouTube playlists on here, and our team specifically has a reality capture ones. You can see here. So if you're kind of interested in seeing what we do in some of our workflows, we got some things of how to clean up your point cloud and InfoWorks, but also there's Charity Hospital in New Orleans. That was over 9,000 scans, okay, for this building.
I would recommend also, there's a video, I believe it's beginning of March. It's a workflow for Register 360.
Mm-hmm.
I believe David did that one as well. So that's a really helpful video when you're done with the scans to process the data that you have.
Yep. Excellent. Let's see. Do you remember the title of that, or was it this exploring the latest version? I think it was that one, exploring the latest version on here. But yeah, there's a handful available.
Yeah, it's a Register 360. We have a
features and scanning registration.
Yeah, features. Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's a nice long one too. So David goes through the complete workflow on this. Okay. Looks like we got a chat. Awesome. Saving the YouTube link for the hospital scanning project. Awesome. Cool. Okay. Let's see, here we go. So again, more of this. Got more Charity Hospital, kind of looking at the state of things. Again, yeah, really unique. So when I was out there scanning, you can just see kind of what's left and what's been abandoned, but it was actually kind of a different kind of awe-inspiring experience as we got down in the lower floors. You know, abandoned buildings tend to get graffiti, but as I was reading some of them, it was graffiti from the nurses and the doctors and some of the patients that were abandoned there. And they had signed different things of like, we survived 14 days here at Charity Hospital, you know, during Katrina and things like that. So it was pretty impressive. And then here's back out at that Park City outside there myself. And, you know, even though COVID shot a lot of things down, we didn't really see too much of an impact on our end. You know, the places that need to get scanned don't come to us, so we have to go there. And then here's the be okay to go. Josh, if you want to talk about kind of some details on this while this plays in the background.
Yeah, so that's Leica's new mobile LiDAR unit. As you can see, it's not your typical terrestrial scanner. We're actually moving. The very top part in this video of that scanner, the scanner actually is spinning this way and that way at the same time. It uses SLAM technology, so it's simultaneously locating and mapping itself as you go. You can do it without any type of phone or iPad or anything like that, but there is a BLK to Go live app that you can download both on Android or Apple. All it really is a viewer. It doesn't store any data or anything like that. It literally just shows you a 2D and a 3D representation of what you're scanning. Also, you can geotag with the push of the one button on that device. If you were to see a crack on the wall or see something that you wanted to document, you can push that button there right below the green light there, and actually it'll take a picture and geotag it within the actual registered scan so that you can later document it. It's also taking panoramic pictures the entire time as well. When you do import it, you can actually tell it how many feet intervals that you want to see those panos. So you can go, I believe, as low as 36 feet for every pano, and you can go 150, 200 feet plus as well. So.
Cool. Phil, have you gotten the chance to play around with this device yet?
Just briefly with Josh, we used it. I believe it was in Las Vegas. There's some retail plazas that we scanned. So.
Your arm gets sore holding it after a while?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think we were looking into some configurations as well as like a stand or something that you would hold up, like a chest mount or something, kind of like a GoPro, something like that.
Right. Yeah, or maybe some kind of a beer koozie helmet kind of thing. Run to them at once. That'd be kind of cool to see.
And it's not even that it's that heavy. It's just that people aren't used to holding something, a couple pounds out with your arm like that for long periods of time. But the neat thing, and Phil could talk a little bit about it as well, just being from mobile LiDAR background and everything like that, is the amount of space you can actually scan compared to your terrestrial LiDAR scanners is just incredible. I mean, our perfect example, we have our office in Phoenix. What do you say, Justin? Maybe 10,000 square feet. We scanned it with a terrestrial scanner in about 4.5 hours, and we scanned it with the BLK to Go in a matter of 10-15 minutes. So
yep, exactly. And then this was up in the catwalk above the school stadium up here. We can kind of see David trying to find his way into another scan. But yeah, it was kind of neat, kind of going up here, just get a lot of access, climbing ladders, going to catwalks, kind of like your own private tour in a way, to be able to get everything captured.
And again, like most projects, we used RTC, BLK to Go, and BLK 360 on that, and we're able to register it all together.
Sure. Yep. I got a question here. Can you describe the LOD or level detail for the devices as well? Sure. So with the scanners we're talking about, that they use the LiDAR technology. So with the lasers, we have a lot of accuracy in there, but also the varying scanners, like we were kind of talking about earlier with comparing these. I guess I could hit back over here. All right, well, whatever. Oh, it's on this one. That's why I'm having trouble finding it. Okay, so yeah, we mentioned some of the resolution setting, or some of the density settings on there. So depending on what you're trying to grab, and here's kind of a good example of a boiler room MEP type project. So imagine the traditional way, there's no way to get all these measurements by hand, or you just kind of have to document and draw as you go. But when we go get a laser scan of an area, you don't have to go back out. You have all the information there. And depending on what you're trying to scan and what your LOD you're trying to achieve, you may want to lower or up the settings of the scanner to be able to basically get a denser point cloud, and then the more it'll shoot more points, and more points is able to help you determine pipe sizes and things like that. Okay, and then also different little nooks and crannies that you don't have a lot of line of sight on. So, okay, and we know this house. I think he's on one of the participants on here, or at least I saw him earlier. No,
One of our coworkers within the company during COVID and whatnot. When everything, right in the beginning of COVID, when everything shut down for pretty much everybody, we kind of came out and used our full arsenal. I think that was the P40 that we were looking at just there.
Yeah, this is the P40. Did a high resolution scan up on this. So actually, I'm going to go and close this down. We'll come back to that. So I'll go and launch that one, take a quick look at that. So let's go all projects. Here we go, mark P40. Okay, so here's that one scan we're looking at the top of the roof here. Oops, sorry about that. Here we go. So let's take a look at that here. But you can see some of that range it was able to grab out here, and we'll go and take a look at this is, and what we decided to do on this one was put the P40 at its very highest possible setting. So it actually did a 30-minute point cloud scan, and we're looking at all the points as well as the images kind of overlaid on there. But yeah, real high detail here. So kind of neat. Okay, and then here's kind of look at one of our BLK 360s. And then the BLK 3D devices out here. So more or less, you can kind of see two different sets of cameras on here. So this technology is a little different from LiDAR. It uses stereo photogrammetry. So it basically takes two angles from the two different camera sensors. You take a picture of, we use them to take pictures of light poles to get measurements on light poles. But if you're a countertop estimator, for example, or drywall estimator, you could go through and just take pictures of what you need and then be able to get accurate dimensions and areas and things like that. And then Josh, I know you went into a bedroom and did the floor plan feature on this. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so there's been some updates for the BLK 3D, and now they have a feature where you can actually go in and make a 3D, well, you can make a 2D floor plan and even a 3D floor plan, very simple 3D floor plan. So, even in the room that everybody's sitting in right now, just look around and you can see any type of window, door, closet, anything like that. You can actually go through with this because it's also a disto laser scanner as well for distance and everything like that. So it actually incorporates all of that to accurately make a 2D and or 3D floor plan as far as height of walls, how deep is the recess for the door or the window and things of that nature. So just quick little things that you can actually export out to like DWG files, which is for AutoCAD and things like that. It's about the size of your cell phone. It's got its niche, so it's not never will we say like, oh, you can get the BLK 3D at a cheap price and it'll do everything for you. It's everything's got its niche here. But yeah, we used it to scan thousands and thousands of telephone poles and that was just a great experience there. I mean, obviously not so much in the heat, but the experience there, the workflow there that we kind of came up with this device as a customer of ours was going out and taking 2 to 3 guys to go measure the height of telephone poles, and they would drive, stop, and they'd have one guy on a pole raising up the measuring tape, and then they'd have another guy or two writing down the data, and it would take them 5 maybe 7 minutes a pole, where we could go and do it in about a minute 30 for each pole. So when you're talking over thousands of polls. Just that amount of time and savings was crucial for them. So
awesome, thanks.
And then Justin, did you see some of the comments, one of Rob's comments about, just kind of pointing out like what would be great for an architect and things of that nature?
Yeah, we'll kind of highlight some of those as we kind of go through this. So yeah, this is heading out Mark's door here. But yeah, there's RTC looking at a golf course. This is up in North Scottsdale where we had a job out to do, but nice little infinity pool out there, and one out there.
And Rob, to kind of tell you, to go exactly with your comment there, the RTC is phenomenal as far as the time of scans. So perfect example, you can do a lot of these scanners. Well, I'll take a step back. The RTC 360, the BOK 360, they have different settings. There's a low, medium, and high setting as far as the density of the point cloud. What we usually use on a BOK 360 is the medium setting. It's about 2 minutes and 50 seconds with pictures. On the RTC 360, you can do a lower setting because it does so many points per second. With pictures, it's 1:51. And Justin's kind of teeing it up here real quick. But yeah, so the RTC, as far as a lot of your customers and architects will kind of aim towards that one because the time per scan, that's the biggest thing. Obviously in an 8-hour or 10, 12-hour workday, the more scans you can do, the more area you can cover. So that's kind of, a lot of times customers will really gravitate to the RT360 just because of the time of scans. Now the price is quite significantly higher than a BOK BOK 360. But yeah, that's kind of one of its bread and butter. And obviously the range in which it can do is almost double. It is double than the BOK 360. So.
Yeah. And Phil, what's your favorite one to run out of these machines?
Definitely gonna say the RTC 360 just for the overall volume, the sheer volume that data you can collect. So
yeah, and what about it do you like so much outside of just the data on there? Do you have any like issues field registration, or kind of explain why that's your preference?
I think it's definitely a higher level of reliability on the data. So as far as like leveling features and things like that, you're gonna good overlap. You have be able to extend your scans pretty far and get a lot of coverage. The BOK 360, it's probably more ideal for a smaller rooms, interior for sure, things like that. I did do a job about a month ago now. It was an exterior scan using the BLK 360, and it turned out really well. So BLK 360 still is a very good tool. Again, it comes down, like Josh said, what's best for your needs, really.
Yep, and we do everything where we'll bring multiple scanners on site as well.
And Justin, go up to slide 18 where the positioning, just to show kind of people the difference.
Yeah. So kind of what Josh is referring to here. So as we mentioned, we won't just take one tool out on a job site with us. We'll take whatever's needed for the job and kind of spread it out. So kind of a quick example here, if we imagine the RTC 360 being these red X's and the BOK 360 being the blue X's. Again, the difference between the scanners is going to be the range as well as the point density. So with the BOK 360 being smaller and less range, 90 meters or 150 feet, you can see where we kind of planned out how to scan this warehouse and office building, scanning the doorways and getting the small rooms with that. Whereas the RTC 360 having that 270 millimeter range, or not millimeter, meter range, you can see that we've planned to go around the outside of the building with that to have less scans and have that tighter data. And then when we're also kind of comparing, so one key thing is go check out our white paper here that we have comparing all these scanners. So we have the graph breakdown here, but also we were talking about earlier where the RTC 360 will do on its high settings up to 2 million points per second. So we can see a really dense point cloud here, and we're just looking at the same target from the same distance from 3 different scanners. So you can clearly see the intersection here. Same with the BLK 360. Now a lot less points, but that's going to help us in many other ways. It's going to help us keep the file size down, compared to the RTC 360, but we can also clearly see the intersection here as well. And then the BLK to go, it looks a little funky. I know they've cleaned that up since then, but that's because, as Josh mentioned, it is a mobile unit. So as it's walking around, it's not sitting on the tripod spinning around or anything like that. So.
And like Justin said, there's been an update within Register 360 for the BLK to go, because a lot of times when I do interactions with customers, they love the idea of it being a mobile LiDAR unit, but whenever they actually see the point cloud, it scares them at first because it's not your typical linear up and down point cloud. It looks like, I always crack the joke, it's like you gave your child a crayon and let them just scribble. But there has been an update where now in the Register 360 on the importing process, it can actually make it a little bit more linear. There's a low and kind of high setting there that really helps and cleans up the point cloud. So
yeah,
I don't want to talk about this one.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, so yeah, this probably was the toughest project we've had all year. Yeah, this was out on the Big Island in Hawaii, and this property you're seeing out here, here's their the houses we're going by, but we'll so we did I went and flew and then also scanned the inside and out of this one, but we'll go and take a look at what the Revit model ended up looking like. So here internally, when Josh or Phil or myself go out and do the scanning, we can turn that over to the customer to be able to create a model themselves. But we also have internal modeling team here that we can hand those off and offer that as a service as well. So if we take a look at that Revit model based on that point cloud, you can see they got everything there, and it was really clear, as you can see, all the details and everything in here that they were able to capture. And really that's been the biggest point of using this type of technology, is the fact that you get full coverage, everything line of sight. So there's really no questions. There's no need for a second site visit, because you have that all captured through all the images, and then you can see the level of detail and what they were able to model just based on the point cloud.
Yeah, it's good for change detection as well. Any modifications, you can go back and rescan and do comparisons between the structures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Rob, to your point earlier, this is huge, because if you talk to any architectural firm, any architect or anything like that, they're all taking measurements in some way, shape, or form, whether it be tape measures, whether it be disto scanners or anything like that, where you literally just point a laser to a wall and it gives them a distance and they write it down. Perfect example, if you can go back to the Revit model there, Justin.
Sure.
Perfect example, Justin was out in beautiful Hawaii for a week and scanned all of this by himself. There was no other team members, anything like that, because Justin's selfish and didn't want to invite anybody. But no,
Right.
I'm just kidding. But perfect example of there's so many architects out there still that will send out a group of 5-10 guys for 2 weeks with tape measures and pieces of paper to get all these measurements, then have to bring it back to their architectural side, their drafting and modeling team, and then they just give them Excel sheets of like, okay, in this room, this wall is 12 feet tall and this deep and this width and all that stuff, and it'll take them months. Whereas Justin was out there for a week. We literally scanned this, it was about a week of modeling, and in 2 weeks they had this deliverable. So
yeah, excellent. So yeah, here's a couple screenshots of field registration. So that's really kind of the beauty and where things have changed with laser scan. So laser scanning's been around for decades, 10, 12, 15 years, but only until recently they've integrated it with iPads and able to do field registration. So you don't have to go scan location, write down some field notes, go back to the office like a week later and be like, okay, where was scan 20 again? You know, you can see what you're capturing there on site. And then when you upload it onto the computer, you can see it start to come together. So if you had missed anything out there as well.
And Rob, to another one of your points, and I, you know, there's so many customers out there that, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They see the sticker price on some of these scanners, and their first immediate thing is kind of that shock. And like, I don't want to spend 20,000. I don't want to spend 80,000. But the biggest thing is we recommend never come into it, especially if a customer is interested in scanners. Don't come into it with like, hey, it's 20K or hey, it's 80K or this or that. The biggest thing is find out what they're doing. Ask them, how are you getting existing measurements on your as-builts? Like, how are you collecting your data? And really kind of that's your way in. Because perfect example, yes, if I can say, hey, this BLK 360 is really going to improve your workflow, and they immediately say, well, how much? Oh, 20K. They're going to be like, wait. But that's where you piggyback and say, look, you just told me you send 5 guys out for 2 weeks to get this data. I mean, I'm not going to, you know, you don't want to get too deep into it, but sometimes it's fine to just ask and be like, how much does that cost you? So you're literally paying 5 guys 10-hour days, 5 days a week for 2-3 weeks. When you can send one guy out with one BLK 360, a lot of times customers will be just surprised and kind of in awe of the fact that, yes, you're paying for it up front, but just the amount of speed and the amount of jobs you're going to be able to get done, it pays for itself within the first job, with the first project or two. A lot of these scanners actually pay for themselves in the savings.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm kind of queuing this up here, Phil. I'm gonna talk about the wellness center here we did in Toledo, and then I'm gonna go and pull up the scan we did, or the project.
Yeah, the wellness center, that was a pretty interesting building because there was so many different spaces, you know, varying sizes. You saw that exercise facility. That was just one wing of the building. And there's a lot of there's some classrooms, I believe, on the 3rd floor. Then even a gymnasium, like a half basketball court type thing.
Oh, down in the basement.
Okay.
It was a church.
Don't want to be there again.
Yeah, it was a church that they converted into a wellness center. So it was kind of odd to see you know, treadmills in the in a chapel.
Right.
Yeah, I believe the cornerstone said like 1850 or something like that. I think, yeah, it was pretty old building. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was even outside, like here toward the front, right?
yeah,
Maybe
as you walked into towards the parking lot, you would, yeah, the front face and then turning right into the parking lot.
Yeah. Maybe it's
to
here
the right.
on the building. Oops.
Yeah,
I was
go
gonna
up
see
that.
if it said over here.
If you go left, and then, yeah, that corner has the cornerstone on it.
Gotcha.
Just to let everybody know on the call, kind of Rob, to another point that you just pointed out, whether you're internal or external here. Yeah, we can, you know, customers, clients can pay us to do exactly what we did here. Is we came out and we scanned them and we deliver them in a point cloud. Some customers want us to scan and give them a full Revit model. So that's like what Justin was talking about earlier, where we scan it, then we hand it off to our architectural team, and in a kind of a collaborative effort there, we get a deliverable. But we also just sell the hardware. We do training. We can get you, you know, get customers their Part 107, you know, drone license certification. We do classes there. We also, we'll do it where if a customer or client does buy a scanner from us, we can actually come out and do the first job with them, kind of in tandem, and make sure that they're trained and know what they're doing. And then throughout the whole process, if a customer, purchases a drone from us or actually more of a scanner, we'll be their point of, troubleshooting and things of that nature. So we really kind of the whole from easiest to just simple, like, hey, here it is, to like full scanning and modeling. We do everything in between and work with our partners. So
there's the Phantom 4 taking off for another job, scanning, surveying land. But yeah, it's
Hawaii.
Yeah, this was out on Maui, out there.
One thing, it looks like you have pretty good conditions with the partially overcast sky. You don't
Yeah.
want to have that bright sunlight. You get a lot of shadow effects.
That's true. Does it affect the point cloud data? Oh, by having extra shadows, or what's kind of the ideal condition to fly there, Phil?
I mean, you want kind of like a gray sky is probably ideal, so you get the good lighting. Yeah, if you have a lot of shadowing, it affects the imagery. That's probably the biggest part, and it's a hindrance. If you had some curbing, kind of tighter details on different structures, you're going to lose some of that precision when if you're out in a full broad daylight. But sometimes you don't have that option. You just have to go with what you have. But yeah, the slightly overcast conditions is definitely ideal.
Awesome. Yep. Here we're looking at kind of a point. So this was all taken with the drone, and we're looking at it up here within Sight Scan. But you could just see the amount of detail that just a 10-minute flight can capture. We got clear definition of driveways and sloping and vegetation and building corners, everything like that in here.
And this is not a LiDAR drone, guys. This is on this drone, our Phantom 4, we use the photogrammetry to get that.
Yep. They've put a lot in here. Yeah, this one was kind of interesting. This was that out in Minnesota, scanning this building, but it kind of looks like the Millennium Falcon a little bit. So this is it starting to come together.
It was a school that was built back in the 50s, and it was actually modeled after a spaceship. So it's just one big circle, both first and second floors.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. It had the library in the middle, and then all the classrooms snaked out from there. So yeah, kind of like we're walking through the Enterprise a little bit. So just another one, the RTC. I think this was out recently in Toledo. And then here's part of that library I was talking about being there in the center. Looks like there's the video here. So yeah, we can kind of take a look at the project a little bit. But yeah, elementary school, kind of a unique layout for that.
For a second, I thought you were going to grab a book.
I'm just tempted. I read that one though. So let's see what else we got here. Oh, here's one about fixing registration out in the field. I have one kind of broken here. I don't think there's any audio with this, but you can kind of clearly see that this, one of these scans is off. There's one that's low there that's been registered incorrectly. So typically we would go fix that. We would find that back in the office on the computer, but being able to, it's like I'm whispering in this, I'll do that. But finding that scan and then fixing that registration there in the field on the iPad, that way just makes life easier when you bring this back into the office. Grabbing that link and then adjusting, you can see the two different scans one in blue and one in orange. Then you can switch not only top-down view, but also side, and then be able to fix and adjust the tilt there.
And on that project, we were doing not only just your normal scanning of the windows, walls, and doors, but we're also getting into the plenum space. So pretty much all the stuff above the ceiling, as far as HVAC and all the piping and everything like that. So we came across what he's dealing with right now. We came across quite a bit, because there was a lot of times where we were having a scan at 6 to 8 feet, but then also having to get a scan up almost in the same spot 12 to 15 feet. So the registration side of things, there was plenty of times where the scanner and the registration, we had to just make sure that it was on the right level.
Yeah, I would have to say that as far as the software too, there's been some major improvements just in the recent years, just with the auto registration. So I can imagine in a couple of years, it's going to just see constant improvements.
Mm-hmm. And we haven't even touched on one of the great benefits of the RTC 360 is the Viz software. So it has cameras all around it, and it actually, when you're scanning in the field registration, when you scan, in position A, you'll see the little red dot show up. And with this Viz software, these cameras actually know where it's at. So as you walk within the project, you can see on the iPad, you'll see this little red dot where the scanner's going. So then when you do that next scan, it automatically knows exactly where that next scan is. Whereas on a BLK 360, you have to, using the same software, when you do a scan, you just have to move it over and say, okay, this connects to this, and then you connect the red dots. So
yep,
that's another great benefit of the RTC.
Yeah, definitely. And we can pretty much go anywhere with it too. So yeah, this one was a tunnel system underneath that same school. So yeah, while Josh was talking in there, just you can see how much room was in here, but I could only get so far away from the scanner. So it caught me sitting down there, but as you can see, there wasn't any room to do any standing at all. So it's just a lot of crawling and moving the scanner back and forth. There's the drone taking off. Let's see what we got here. Oh, yep. Here's more of the registration of the tunnel network connecting to boiler rooms in here. And then, yeah, here's out in front of the school. So got myself over here, and then Jeff Landers and Quentin Worm, and then Josh. Yeah, it was a good time. And then here we go. You want to talk about the plenum space here?
Yeah, well, first I'll start with Mark, your question. It really depends on what the customer is looking for. If there is, a lot of these scans during COVID with, everything being closed down, there wasn't really a lot of people. Depending on the level of development that they're looking for as well. If they just need windows, walls, and doors, yeah, I'm hard at work there. But if they just need windows, walls, and doors, as long as the people that are, if you're on an active construction site and there's a bunch of people there, as long as you can still essentially see the windows, walls, and doors, you don't necessarily need to clean up all of that. It really just depends. There is a lot of technology within Register 360 that it'll actually blurs people's faces and everything like that. So it really just kind of depends if what the customer is needing to see. If there's Justin standing there, or David, or another person standing there, then I'll clean up those points. But we don't do a whole lot of cleanup as far as people go. More of the cleanup is you have so much, like, especially if you're scanning a doorway that's going to the outside. What we do is we clean up kind of, those points from, 60 feet away from that car that's parked over there. We don't need that. So we'll clean up those points. But in that example with Justin in the tunnel, we didn't really necessarily need to clean up that Justin being there, because as you saw the whole tunnel.
Yeah.
But to get back to this, as you can see, if you want to hit play again one more time, what we did there is, instead of taking down every ceiling tile, which would have made this trip, I mean, we're talking 10,000 plus ceiling tiles, what we did is about every 4 to 6 feet, what we were able to do is actually take down a couple ceiling tiles. We would do a scan about 6 feet. Then we go up to, as you saw right there, right before the plenum space, and then we would put one up in there. So it's for the registration part, because the biggest thing when you're using LiDAR scanners is overlap. So whatever, your first scan, you need at least, we recommend 40% overlap to the next scan. So if we did a scan right there and then immediately shoved it up into the plenum space, there's not going to be enough overlap, because those ceiling tiles are pretty much only allowing you to see a little window. So overlap is key when it comes to LiDAR scanning.
Yeah. This is just video putting plenum back together. Not necessarily need to go through that. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, so I want to make sure we get through all these photos. We already kind of showcased this project out here. Yeah, here was a old plan of the school that we had scanned. David and some customers waving as the drone's flying by.
That was the
Here
airport.
at the airport. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sometimes you get a vehicle stuck.
Yeah, that was our lovely company vehicle, and we were taking it out in the desert, probably in places we shouldn't have, but we had to get to the what the customer wanted. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Using some of our Icon equipment out here, you can see the total station and then the prism up on the rod. Also caught a neat little balloon show. Saw some dinosaurs. Robbed a bank. No, didn't rob a bank. Which one of you guys? Yeah, this was planning out a site. Phil, you want to talk about maybe maybe some LOD discussion here, as well as, like kind of how if you saw this image of somebody saying, hey, what would this take this building to go scan? Like what are some of the questions you would ask a customer that's looking to get a scan of the building?
As far as setups, you want to make sure that you're covering, a lot of these features. I would take into account the ceiling space, so each of those beams, and then the pillars. You want to make sure you have full coverage, all around those features in order to collect that. And then as far as detail, again, with the type of scanner you would have, if you have the RTC 360, you could pretty much just set up in the center of each section there. Imagine with the BLK, you might need to do some additional setups, some tighter areas, but yeah, as far as level of detail, you definitely want to take into account the those pillars and the beams and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then when it comes to modeling that too, that's kind of a question that our modeling team will ask. Be like, look, I can throw in a beam here at this size, or do you want all the intricate detailing as well? That could up the cost significantly. Depending on what you get into there, but. All valid questions to kind of go through here. Little letterbox. And you want to talk about ground control here? One of you guys?
Yeah, you or Phil, if you want to talk. Yeah, I don't care.
Sure, go for it, Phil.
Yeah, is this like a drone scan? I'm guessing here.
Yeah.
Makeshift target. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like a makeshift target. I'm used to, normally we'd have like aerial target that you can place on the ground, and then once you have all your points in there, you can geolocate everything and tie your data directly into a real world coordinate system if that's necessary, if that's what the job calls for.
Right.
But yeah.
And what do targets like this do to improve our drone flights, if anything?
Oh, you want to increase the accuracy for sure, and then be able to tile your data together.
Yeah, exactly. So when you have a big, large site, it's not replacing traditional survey. It's just working in tandem. So survey could go out and set control on the site, lay out a handful of targets, get them shot and into a CSV or Excel file or whatever it is, and then we can go through, fly it, and then tag those tag these images accordingly as well. Then
and Justin, let me, so I wanted to touch base on if you want to just kind of keep going through pictures and whatnot.
Sure.
Oh yeah, it was so cold that when we're outside, and me, Justin, and Dave all have facial hair, that it would freeze like within minutes.
Yeah.
But Rob, to your last point, kind of before we finish up here, as far as the learning curve for all of this stuff, I don't want to take away from my job when I say this, but it is extremely easy. If you're talking to architects and engineers and things like that, trust me, if they can handle AutoCAD, Revit, anything like that, these in its simplicity, if you strip all the craziness back, if what you can see with your eyes, that's what the scanner can see. So when you're setting up, okay, I'm going to scan here, and then I got to go about 10 feet over there, you really just look at the room and say, okay, I can see this, so the scanner is going to be able to see this. So as far as the learning curve, is extremely simple. When it comes to the software, being Leica products that we're using, and this goes for Faro and other scanners as well, they're always going to have their own software that you need to import into. So if you have a customer who's on the fence about getting a Leica scanner, they're actually going to get a free first year of the Register 360, the software that you need to import the data and clean up and do everything like that. And then as far as that software, you can actually export it out to an RCP file, and that's what's used for Autodesk Recap. And then or you can also put that into Revit and AutoCAD and things of that nature. So it works with all the Autodesk stuff and everything like that. But yeah, as far as the learning curve goes, it is extremely fast. It is extremely easy. A lot of times when we even just do a demo and we let the customer use it for 10 minutes, they already know how to use it. Now, yes, they don't know all the little tips and tricks, but that is just with job experience. But it's extremely easy to show customers. I mean, even this Be Okay to Go, you literally hit go and then start walking. So it's that simple. The more technical side is when you're doing the importing process and the cleanup and everything like that. But again, it is very simple, very easy, and it's something that we can teach the customer within, half a day, to be honest with you. So you get the most experience just in the field scanning. So
I saw a Phil sighting come up as well. What project was that, Phil?
That was Grand Forks. It was about 100 degrees in that room. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it gets sweltering sometimes out there.
Yeah, surprised that far north it'd still be that hot. But yeah, it was actually a brand new building, but the air conditioner and things like that had not been completely installed. So we were just mapping out all the rooms and the updates to that.
Just have to keep showing all the Hawaii pictures.
I told you, David put all these together. So.
Oh yeah, Justin again.
Yeah. Right. Yep. And then I think kind of to wrap it up here, since we are at the top of the hour, as far as a naming convention and things like that, this is kind of a good breakdown of how we might divide up a team to go tackle an area. This was another school that we had done, but just to be able to identify and be clear and concise, and then also make sure that we're not doubling up anybody else's areas. So sometimes we'll go through and assign Josh to this section, Phil to this section, myself to another, and make sure that we're all tied in and all on the same page, all using the same settings. That way we have a lot of consistency throughout our scans.
Yeah, you need good data management here and coordination. Otherwise, you can really have some issues with the rooms getting, you might have a mirror image of one room compared to another. And then, you don't want to be mistaking, those registrations with an improper setup. So.
Yeah.
Rob, your other question there, Rob. As far as visually what the customer sees, that's whatever they want. So if they're just looking for the point cloud, it doesn't matter if you're using Register 360 or Autodesk Recap, it's a point cloud nonetheless. So it really just depends on what the customer wants as a deliverable. If they're usually doing, everything in Autodesk, whether it be Autodesk Recap or Revit or AutoCAD, then RCP files is where it's at. And the great thing about Register 360 is once you import it, it exports out to RCP files. So yeah, we never have a hiccup as far as when a customer says, hey, I want this deliverable, our software will be able to, push it out whichever way they want. So.
That's cool. I think we're pretty much wrapped up here. I see projects learning session here. Scans. Cool. Well, yeah, any parting thoughts, guys? And we'll kind of let everybody throw out any last minute questions, but we'll go and kind of some parting thoughts. Phil, how about you kick us off there, and then Josh, you go next.
Oh, well, if anybody needs these scans, I mean, it's a really good technology to get into as far as level of detail. I think the one term that comes to mind is scan in the can. So once you collect your data, you always have that data kind of an archive of that. So you'll be able to store that and be able to refer back to that, pretty much any time. It's unlike, a traditional, say, a hand survey or hand measurements, you're kind of just jotting down some numbers. But when you have that point cloud that's available to you all the time, it's just a nice thing. Kind of like having a photo, and you keep it for over the years, it kind of becomes more valuable. That's probably the one thought that comes to mind for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent point. Josh, some final parting thoughts?
Yeah, just to, like I've mentioned a couple times, whether you're an internal employee on the call or an external, potential client or whatnot, by all means, reach out, let us know, call, email, whatever it needs. I'll put it in the chat what my email is and everything like that. But yeah, if you guys are interested or if you have more questions, never hesitate to ask. This is what we do. And we love to talk about this stuff. So we definitely can find a solution one way or another to get the job done with with our many tools. If it's something that you are interested in and getting, your feet wet in this, by all means, let us know. We can come out and do a demo. We can bring the scanners with us. We can even, scan your office or scan a job for you and just kind of show you what the deliverable can actually be and whatnot. So yeah, we're here to help.
Awesome. Cool. Let's see. I don't see any additional questions or anything like that. So we'll be respectful of everybody's time. But yeah, as Josh mentioned, we'll this was fun for us talking about this stuff and kind of seeing what David had put together. Kind of bringing back some memories of some of these job sites. So yeah, if there's anything else, let us know. Otherwise, we'll go and shut it down, and everybody have a good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you. Yep.